The night was an inky black canvas, punctuated only by the feeble glow of my car's headlights cutting through the dense fog that clung to the deserted road. I was on a desolate stretch, far away from any signs of civilization. The air inside the car felt heavy, and a chilling breeze whispered through the cracked window, sending shivers down my spine. The dashboard clock mocked me with its red glowing digits, 2:37 a.m. I had been driving for hours, the rhythmic hum of the engine lulling me into a hypnotic trance. My eyelids grew heavy, and the road seemed to stretch endlessly ahead, like a foreboding ribbon through a nocturnal abyss. The monotony of the journey was broken only by the occasional flickering of dilapidated road signs that warned of curves ahead, their reflective paint barely visible in the dim glow of my headlights. As I navigated through the night, a nagging sense of unease crept over me. The shadows cast by the trees lining the road seemed to dance, contorting into grotesque shapes that played tricks on my fatigued mind. I shook off the discomfort, attributing it to the isolation and exhaustion that clung to the late hour. But a gnawing fear clawed at the edges of my consciousness. Suddenly, the car's headlights flickered, plunging me into momentary darkness. Panic gripped me as the engine sputtered, but then, with a reluctant sigh, the lights stuttered back to life. I sighed in relief, dismissing the incident as a mere hiccup in the aging vehicle. Little did I know, this was only the prelude to a nightmarish ordeal. The fog thickened, reducing visibility to a mere few feet. My hands clenched the steering wheel, my knuckles turning white as I strained to peer through the murky haze. The air outside the car felt charged with an otherworldly energy, and an oppressive silence settled over the desolate road. That's when I saw her. A figure emerging from the mist, standing in the middle of the road. A woman dressed in a tattered white gown that billowed around her like a spectral shroud. My heart skipped a beat, and I slammed on the brakes, bringing the car to a screeching halt. The headlights illuminated her pale, gaunt face, and her eyes, hollow and void of life, stared into mine. Fear constricted my throat as I fumbled for the door handle. The woman remained eerily motionless, her gaze unwavering. With trembling hands, I stepped out onto the cold asphalt. The fog clung to me like a sinister cloak as I approached her. "Are you okay?" I stammered, the words barely audible in the silence that enveloped us. She didn't respond, her vacant eyes fixed on an unseen horizon. I took a hesitant step closer, my breath forming ghostly clouds in the frigid air. It was then that I noticed the bloodstains on her gown, dark and ominous against the pallor of her skin. A guttural sound echoed through the stillness, a mournful wail that sent shivers down my spine. The woman's head snapped towards me, her mouth agape, emitting a sound that seemed to pierce through the fog like a mournful dirge. The air turned colder, and an unsettling energy enveloped us. Panic surged within me, and I stumbled backward, my eyes darting around the desolate landscape. The fog now seemed to move with a life of its own, swirling and coiling like malevolent spirits. My car sat in the background, a silent witness to the unfolding horror. In a moment of desperate clarity, I turned and sprinted back to my car, the haunting wails of the woman echoing behind me. I slammed the door shut, the metallic thud drowning out the spectral cries. With trembling hands, I fumbled to restart the engine, praying that the aging vehicle would comply. As the engine roared to life, I spared a final glance at the woman in the mist. She stood, unmoving, her mournful cries fading into the night. The fog swallowed her form, and with a surge of adrenaline, I accelerated away from the haunting scene. The road ahead seemed to stretch endlessly, each mile laden with an oppressive atmosphere. The fog persisted, a relentless companion that clung to my car like a malevolent force. My surroundings blurred into a nightmarish tableau, the road ahead an indistinct path through a surreal dreamscape. I glanced nervously into the rearview mirror, half expecting to see the ghostly figure of the woman pursuing me. But the road behind was empty, swallowed by the impenetrable fog. The rhythmic thump of my heartbeat resonated through the car, each pulse a reminder of the other-worldly encounter. Hours passed, and the night showed no signs of relenting. The road twisted and turned like a serpentine labyrinth, and a sense of disorientation gnawed at my sanity. The fog, if anything, grew thicker, pressing against the car windows like an ethereal barrier. A distant glow appeared on the horizon, offering a glimmer of hope. As I approached, the glow transformed into the dim lights of a small town. Relief washed over me as I entered the outskirts, the fog gradually thinning like a dissipating nightmare. I pulled into a gas station, the harsh fluorescent lights casting long shadows on the pavement. The attendant, a weary-looking man with sunken eyes, glanced up from his newspaper as I approached. "Late night for a drive, huh?" he mumbled, his voice tinged with a hint of unease. I nodded, unable to shake the residual fear that clung to me like a second skin. I filled up the tank in silence, my eyes darting nervously to the fog-shrouded road beyond the gas station. The memory of the woman lingered in the recesses of my mind, a haunting specter that refused to be banished. As I paid the attendant and left the gas station, the fog seemed to retreat, as if conceding to the boundaries of the town. I drove through the well-lit streets, the familiar glow of streetlights replacing the oppressive darkness of the desolate road. The terror of the night began to fade, replaced by the comforting embrace of civilization. But even as I drove away from the spectral fog and the haunting cries, a lingering unease clung to me. I couldn't shake the feeling that the woman in the mist was not a mere hallucination, but a harbinger of something darker, something that lurked at the fringes of reality. And as I left the town behind, the road ahead stretched into the unknown, a winding path through the shadows where nightmares waited to be unveiled.